Welcome to the start of my Resident Evil Rewind series. I haven't always been a Resident Evil fan, but in my adult life, I really developed a love for the games. I had only played Resident Evil 4 for many years until the remake of Resident Evil 2 spurred me to play the mainline titles from start to finish, but I never really completed this in my spare time. The goal of this series will be to play every mainline Resident Evil title from the beginning. That means starting with the one that started it all, and this video's subject matter, Resident Evil 1996. The plan is to play all original mainline games in release order and then cover the modern remakes last. The only exception being that I'll be covering Remake 2002 after Code Veronica, as it would feel the most out of order as it goes hand in hand with Resident Evil 0. The remake videos will cover them as their own games, but will also focus on comparisons to their original titles and what makes them better or worse. I already mentioned mainline a bunch of times, but that's because I want to make it clear that I won't be covering any spin-offs. The only two exceptions to this that I'm not quite sure about are Revelations 1 and 2. They sort of straddle the line between the two sides, so I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. In a similar vein, extra content or DLCs won't be covered much or at all. I never really cared for the extra game modes in these titles like Mercenaries or things like Fourth Survivor. I have nothing against them, they just weren't really my speed. That being said, I will cover any instances of main story playthroughs with multiple characters. For example, I'll be doing the Leon A and B as well as Claire A and B runs in Resident Evil 2. For DLCs, it would need to be something extremely significant to the story and canon for me to include it. That means something like Not a Hero from Resident Evil 7 or Separate Ways from Resident Evil 4 will be included, but something like End of Zoe or Shadows of Rose probably won't be. I'll be playing each game on normal difficulty as well. The development of the games won't be covered much unless it's relevant to certain features or piques my interest. Again, nothing against it, but I want to focus on the game itself. Finally, as I'm a PC guy, all footage will be recorded on the PC ports unless there isn't one. The original 3 games are the GOG versions, so there could be discrepancies in the gameplay that I'll do my best to account for in my takes. Without further ado, please join me in entering the survival horror.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone situated in northwest Raccoon City, where we're searching for the helicopter of our compatriots Bravo Team, who disappeared during the middle of our mission.
You haven't found it?
No, I haven't found it yet. Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Raccoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. Bravo Team went to the hideout of the group and disappeared.
Look, Chris!
It was Bravo Team's helicopter. Nobody was in it. But strangely, most of the equipment was still there. However, we soon discovered why.
Hey! Come here!
Hey! There are only 3 STARS members left now. Captain Wesker, Jill, and myself. We don't know where Barry is.
Chris Redfield. Jill Valentine. Barry Burton. Rebecca Chambers. Albert Wesker. Resident Evil.
In the late 90s, an industry changer emerged onto the scene. Resident Evil, or Biohazard in Japan, released in North America on April 1st, 1996 by developer Capcom for the Sony PlayStation. Heavily inspired by the Japanese horror game and movie Sweet Home, Resident Evil was created to be a new take on the horror genre. Set in the isolated Spencer Mansion in the Arklay Mountains, it pioneered the genre we know today as survival horror. But what does that mean exactly? I'm glad you asked. But before we get into that, let's talk about what our heroes are doing in this dark forest. In the summer of 1998, haunting stories are coming out of the Arklay Forest. The victims are left to rot with bite marks, but no suspects have been found. Raccoon City Special Tactics and Rescue Service Bravo Team is sent into the unknown to find the cause of these attacks and put a stop to it. When Bravo Team goes silent, STARS Alpha Team jumps into the mix to find their missing comrades. Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Albert Wesker, Barry Burton, Joseph Frost, and Brad Vickers touch down in Arklay Forest, only to find the crashed Bravo Team helicopter with its pilot dead in the cockpit. After further investigation, Alpha Team is ambushed by a pack of rabid dogs. Joseph becomes dog chow, Brad chickens out with the helicopter, and the rest of the team is forced to take shelter in a nearby mansion. This is where the story splits based on which character you play. You'll have the choice of either Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield. There are some gameplay differences for each, but we'll talk about that later. The plot generally plays the same for both characters, but each one has a different supporting character that helps them on their journey. Chris gets Bravo Team's field medic and only survivor, Rebecca Chambers. Jill gets Alpha Team veteran, Barry Burton. You'll quickly realize that there's more to this mansion than meets the eye. The undead are shambling around trying to take bites out of you, and you'll need strange keys to unlock most of the doors. I guess that explains the grisly murders. Jill or Chris will need to navigate the mansion to find their missing comrades while staying alive. Don't forget to loot their still warm corpses for ammo when you find them. The cutscenes will do little for exposition until the end of the game, and most of the underlying plot will be told in text files that you find throughout your stay at the Spencer Mansion. Our heroes will need to deal with not only zombies, but also killer mutant frogs called hunters, giant spiders, a giant snake named Jan, and even infected sharks. After a long night and several wounds, Jill, or Chris, will find out that STARS has a mole and that this mansion sits atop a secret research facility for the pharmaceutical company Umbrella Corporation. Umbrella has been engaging in some nasty research and development of bioorganic weapons to sell on the black market, and, conveniently, they've left all their secret plans in the open for you to find. Not exactly great information security. The zombies and other creatures roaming about are the results of the Tyrant virus, or T-virus for short. The viral agent has had an outbreak, causing the local flora and fauna to become infected. The mole in STARS is eventually revealed to be Alpha Team Captain, Albert Wesker. He's been under Umbrella's employ the entire time, and lured STARS to the mansion to collect combat data on the BOWs. Hold on a second, is he really wearing his sunglasses for this photo? After revealing his evil plan, Wesker releases a super soldier called the Tyrant to kill Jill or Chris. Can't help but feel like the ultimate super soldier has a bit of a design flaw by having its heart on the outside. The Tyrant takes out Wesker or Barry, but is put down by either character. There are multiple different endings based on choices you can make throughout the game for either Chris or Jill. Whichever character you have chosen, the other will be imprisoned by Wesker and will need MO discs found around the mansion to be rescued. Either character will also have choices to make during their run pertaining to Barry or Rebecca, which will influence if they survive or not. No matter the ending, Chris or Jill will run to the helipad and will either have to fight the revived Tyrant until Brad tosses down a rocket launcher or evacuate. Whatever ending you choose, just know that canonically Rebecca, Barry, Jill, and Chris all survive the mansion. The story as a whole fits just right for this formula. It really lends itself to the atmosphere and gameplay. Is it 5-star writing? Of course not, but it doesn't matter. Shady corporations, double agents, zombies, and an isolated setting is just chef's kiss. It feels reminiscent of zombie movies of old, and it's hard to describe just how cool that is. The intimate feeling of being stalked by creatures you can hear but can't see is bone-chilling, even in the modern era. The horror of finding the undead roaming the mansion, the realization that one of your comrades is a traitor, the discovery of Umbrella's diabolical research, it became a template for the series moving forward due to its success, even if the way it's presented in this game is a little dated. Let me show you what I mean. I think modern voice acting and exposition is something we take for granted these days, but in 1996, let's just say it was unpolished at best. I have no doubt the cast was likely unfamiliar with this kind of project, as voice dialogue in video games was non-existent for the most part. Needless to say, the voice acting in this title is a meme amongst the community. Just listen to what I mean.
What is this?
Wow, what a mansion!
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
What is it?
Maybe it's Chris. Now, Jill, can you go?
I'm going with you. Chris is our old partner, you know.
Okay, let me handle this. Stay alert!
It's so bad that it loops around to good. I only recently played this game, so I hadn't heard it before, and I was cry laughing at some of the dialogue. Barry in particular has many lines that have become staples of the series, like,
This mansion is gigantic. We could get into trouble if we get lost. We should start from the first floor, okay? And Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you. That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things. Better take it with you.
But how about you, Barry?
I have this.
Thank you. I'll take this then.
it's honestly hilarious. Now that we've talked about the story and how it was delivered, let's get on with the meat, the gameplay. Classic Resident Evil is an intimate horror experience that relies on its atmosphere and tension to scare the player. That means the gameplay had to integrate seamlessly or you'd lose the effect. They did a fantastic job with that. Even though Chris and Jill are no strangers to combat scenarios, they haven't dealt with this kind of situation before. Each are equipped with a combat knife and Beretta with 1 mag of ammo. You'll quickly find out that zombies are no joke and can eat a lot of ammo before going down. And even then, they might only be playing dead. You can find more ammo of course, but it's not plentiful. That means you'll want to conserve as much as possible, or you risk running dry when you really need it. As the risk of death is very real, you can find healing items such as first aid sprays or herbs to patch yourself up in a pinch. Of course, these are scarce as well. Green herbs can be consumed as is or combined with other herbs. A green and red herb will give you a full heal. 3 combined green herbs will as well. Blue herbs will cure poison on their own, but can also be mixed with green and red herbs for the combined effect. Inventory management is a must as pocket space is at a premium. If you couldn't tell, this is the cornerstone of the genre. Limited inventory and items force you to think about your approach to every scenario. Should I take more weapons and ammo to deal with enemies? You might not have enough inventory for key items. Should I leave more inventory for key items? You might get ambushed by hunters with no way of fighting back. Don't get too discouraged, as Capcom wanted the experience to be fair too. You can find safe rooms placed around the mansion with helpful item boxes that allow you to store your unneeded equipment. These boxes are magically linked and will keep your items despite the different locations. The safe rooms really live up to their name, as they're one of the only danger-free areas in the mansion, and the music makes you feel like you found an oasis in this desert of terror. Just listen. The inventory system is still genius to this day. I love that they chose to show your health as an ECG monitor, as it makes it feel more real. Resident Evil has a habit of showing off sci-fi tech in its titles, and this fits with that practice. It makes you forget you're playing a video game. There's no ammo indicator on the screen either, so you'll have to keep checking to make sure you aren't running low. You can reload your weapons by using the ammo on the firearm in your inventory too, which is helpful if you don't want to wait until the mag's empty for Jill or Chris to prompt a mag change. The only real hangup I have is that Jill or Chris won't show any visual indication that they're banged up, which can lead to frustrating scenarios of thinking you can take a hit and then unexpectedly biting the dust. Speaking of weapons, they're an important part of any Resident Evil experience. You of course start with your pistol and knife, but you can find a shotgun and magnum revolver as well. Jill gets the added bonus of a grenade launcher. Gunplay is simple but effective. You hold the ready weapon button to aim and press another button to shoot. You can aim up, center mass, or down. Aiming up is handy if a zombie gets too close and you want to go for the headshot, especially with the shotgun. It quite possibly has the most satisfying sound and feel in all of gaming. Down is nice if you need to dead check a zombie who's prone on the floor. Look for the helpful bloodstains to know if it's actually dead or you'll be getting an ankle bite. Although it's kinda cool that you'll just kick or stomp their heads off after they attack. For completing the game, you'll be rewarded with some cool costume changes for either Jill or Chris via a key into the closet. If you complete the game under a certain time limit, you can also unlock an infinite rocket launcher or SMG to use in subsequent playthroughs. This practice becomes a staple throughout the series, rewarding the player for completing its toughest challenges and having the knowledge to speedrun the game. The map system might feel rudimentary compared to a modern game, but it's quite useful for its time. You'll be able to get layouts for the environments as you enter rooms, or you can find maps to show everything at once. The system even lets you know which rooms you've been in and which room you're currently in. Unfortunately, it doesn't show your location within the room, but it's still very useful. We can't talk about classic Resident Evil without mentioning an integral part of its design: tank controls. Tank controls only allow your character to move in the direction they're facing, and pressing left or right will prompt them to rotate in that direction rather than move laterally. Pressing back will make them move backwards. So, in essence, if you want to change directions, you'll have to stop and turn to move that way. As a modern gamer, this was challenging to get used to, I'll admit, but once you get the hang of it, it feels incredibly natural. It's actually quite helpful for the camera orientation as well. The game uses fixed third-person camera angles, which means as you move around an area, you'll see a shift in the camera perspective depending on where you're located. Again, this can be a little disorienting at first, but you should adjust quickly. The angles play on the cinematic feel of the atmosphere and really seal the deal on the visuals. They up the tension by putting you in scenarios where you'll enter a room and hear the undead shuffling towards you, but you won't be able to see them. Terrifying, even to this day. Capcom wasn't afraid to throw in the occasional jump scare either, but seeing as they aren't ubiquitous, I think it's done tastefully. Other than fighting BOWs and finding your dead comrades, you'll be interacting with the environment in a big way. Most of the mansion will be locked upon entry, and it'll be up to Chris or Jill to solve puzzles to find key items. These can range from insignias to keys shaped like armor, shields, or swords. Jill gets an easier time with this, as some doors will have basic locks that can be opened with her lockpick. She is the master of unlocking after all. Chris will have to find many small keys to unlock these doors instead. I've never been a puzzle guy, but Resident Evil just doesn't feel the same without them. They may not be super challenging, but they just work and are a staple of the series for a reason. Some of the modern titles neglect them, and you can easily notice their absence. Here's an example. In the gallery, you'll find some paintings on the wall with buttons to press underneath them. The hint indicates that the solution is related to the journey through life, so you'll have to press the buttons in order of the paintings, ranging from a baby to an old man. If you get it wrong, the murder of crows tries to, well, murder you. Another example would be to push some stone statues onto grates on the floor so you don't trigger a toxic gas trap when you press a button. As this was a game made in 1996, autosaving wasn't a feature that you could expect, and this game took it one step further. You can save your progress of course, but you'll be limited in how many times you can. Typewriters will be conveniently placed around the mansion for you to save, but you'll need ink ribbons to do so. This forces you to think strategically about when to save. If you're too conservative, you might lose a lot of progress should you die to one of the terrors stalking the halls. Save too much, and you might not have any left later in the game. Jill and Chris might be brave heroes, but they certainly aren't invincible. The risk of death is always lurking in the shadows or around the corner. If you happen to become another victim of Umbrella's experiments, you'll have to restart at your last save, so plan them carefully. As this game was disc-based for the PlayStation, you might be asking how the loading screens are handled. CDs were notorious for having egregious and plentiful loading screens. Capcom thought of that and made it a cool part of the experience. When you enter a door that leads to a new room or area, you'll be presented with a door opening animation. This allowed Capcom to give you something to look at that added to the experience while the game loaded in the background. You can also use these transitions to escape enemies in a pinch. Alright, we should talk about the mechanical differences between Jill and Chris's playthroughs. Unlike later titles in the series, RE96 has no difficulty level to select before starting a run. Capcom made the character you choose instead be your choice of difficulty. Jill's run is seen as the easier run for a couple of reasons. Jill has 8 inventory slots compared to Chris's 6, which doesn't sound like a huge difference, but trust me, it might as well be 20 with the way the game plays. This means Jill won't have to make as many trips to the item boxes and can bring more firepower and ammo without sacrificing too much pocket space. She also has a lockpick, which allows her to open standard locked doors and drawers for free. Chris will need to find small keys around the mansion to unlock these instead, which further exacerbates his inventory problem. Weapons are the same throughout the game for both, except for the bazooka, which is exclusive to Jill, and the flamethrower for Chris. The bazooka destroys most enemies in 1 or 2 hits, except for the bosses, but even they won't stand much of a chance against it. Chris's flamethrower is only used in the underground section and is honestly quite useless. You can use it for the Black Tiger fight, but the Magnum will kill it in 3 shots, so don't bother. Jill can do the Moonlight Sonata puzzle on her own, whereas Chris will need Rebecca to play it for him. I guess only the women learn piano. Finally, Jill has Barry to help her in a couple of scenarios that Chris won't. For instance, the shotgun puzzle for Chris requires he find a broken shotgun to replace the working one on the mantle, or he'll be squished before he can leave the room. Jill can just grab it and wait for Barry to save her. You can also use Barry to kill enemies in a couple of locations, saving you ammo. The only negative for Jill is that she has glass bones and paper skin. Just kidding, but she can't take as much punishment as Chris can. If you couldn't tell by now, Chris easily has the harder playthrough. Now that we covered how the game plays, let's go over the areas you'll be surviving in. The Spencer Mansion is the heart of Resident Evil's atmosphere, a labyrinth of gothic halls, ornate dining rooms, and hidden passages that feel as alive as the monsters within. At first glance, it's almost welcoming with its red carpets, chandeliers, and grand architecture, but the deeper you go, the more the facade peels back, revealing locked rooms and blood-stained secrets. The pre-rendered backgrounds lend a frozen elegance, making every creaking door transition a leap into the unknown. It's not just a setting, it's the game's most important character. The garden and its adjoining courtyard shift the tone from claustrophobic to deceptively open. Moonlight bounces off fountains and hedges, but danger lurks beneath the surface. Snakes drop from trees, rabid dogs roam the pathways, and the sound design makes you feel constantly watched. This area also serves as a transition. Players leave behind the suffocating mansion only to find that even the natural world outside has been corrupted by Umbrella's experiments. The guardhouse blends cozy with grotesque terror. Its wood-paneled walls, billiard rooms, and bedrooms feel almost quaint compared to the mansion, but it's here that Umbrella's bioexperiments take on an even more invasive, organic form. Vines tear through walls, filling corridors with pulsing plant life, while Plant 42 becomes one of the game's most memorable and unsettling boss encounters. The guardhouse reminds the player that Umbrella's reach is invasive. It doesn't just create monsters, it rewrites nature itself. The underground tunnel strips away luxury and comfort, plunging the player into raw industrial horror. Gone are the chandeliers and fine woodwork. Here, you're surrounded by dripping caves, rusted scaffolding, and pitch-black voids. The claustrophobia intensifies as Black Tiger and hunters patrol the damp passages. The underground reinforces the theme that beneath all of Umbrella's sophistication lies something primal and rotten, literally buried under layers of secrecy. Finally, the laboratory serves as Resident Evil's unmasking. Sterile hallways, humming machinery, and cold steel replace gothic architecture, and the truth about Umbrella's bioweapons becomes undeniable. The lab is where the scattered puzzle pieces come together. Research logs, failed experiments, and the infamous Tyrant. It's a space devoid of humanity, reflecting a company more interested in weaponizing life than preserving it. As the finale unfolds, the sterile silence erupts into chaos, culminating in the Tyrant's emergence, a perfect climax for both narrative and atmosphere. Now that you have the setting, let's chat about the enemies lurking in the shadows. Zombies are the main enemies you'll be seeing on your first run through the mansion. They're slow moving but can take a bit of punishment. Unless you get a headshot, the zombies might fall over and look dead, but that doesn't mean they are. If you don't see a puddle of blood under them, they're still breathing. Well, technically they aren't, but you get what I mean. Make sure to give them the coup de grace if you don't want your ankles bitten. Infected dogs, called Cerberus, will occasionally hound you, particularly in the outdoor areas. They move fast but won't take much to put down. Just try not to let them overwhelm you, lest they stun lock you to death as Chris or Jill don't have iframes. Giant spiders occupy some of the halls and can spit acid as well as poison you. There are a few sections with regular sized snakes that can as well, so make sure to stock up on blue herbs. When you return from the guardhouse for your second run through the mansion, the zombies will have been replaced by hunters. These killer mutant frog things are incredibly fast and durable. They'll waste no time slicing you to ribbons if you let them. The easiest way to take them down is to kill them before they have a chance to see you. Jill can do this with the bazooka pretty easily, but Chris will have to use precious magnum or shotgun ammo. If they do see you, it's best to just run to another room. They move like lightning and have barely any delay to their attacks, so you'll probably die or be on death's door at minimum. I recommend killing as many of these things as possible if you can spare the ammo, as it's very difficult to dodge them consistently. There's a particular section with T-virus sharks, the big one is called Neptune, that will try to turn you into chum, but they can be defeated by draining the water in the area. The last main enemy type is the Chimera. These human-fly hybrids are also very fast and durable, much like the Hunters. The good news is that you'll only find them near the end of the game, and it's best to just run away from them. Now we can talk about the bosses. There aren't that many, and most of them don't have a lot of mechanics to defeat them. Yawn, the giant snake, is responsible for one of your Bravo team comrades' death, Richard. After bringing the antidote to Richard and him dying anyway, Yawn will try to kill you too. The first encounter has him defending an emblem you need, but the second one is where you'll have to put Yawn down for good. Just unload ammo into him and dodge his bite, nothing special. Plant 42 is an overgrown T-virus plant that has tentacle-like suckers to grab you. Being a plant, fire is the easiest way to kill it. Jill can create the V-Jolt chemical to severely weaken the plant on her own, but Chris will have to rely on Rebecca, assuming you brought her along. Once again, just shoot at it until it's dead. Keeping with the theme of giant animals, Black Tiger is a giant tarantula. He'll spit acid and try to bite you, so keep dodging and shooting until it's dead. The Magnum or Bazooka will put him down really quick. The last boss is, of course, the Tyrant. It's pathetically easy to put down in the lab where you first meet it, as it just walks at you, but it's a whole other ballgame on the helipad. It will still walk, but occasionally break out into a sprint to swipe at you. The goal here is to not kill it, but stay alive until Brad drops you the rocket launcher to destroy it for good. For a game from 1996, it surprisingly holds up well enough in the visual department. Capcom originally wanted to do fully rendered 3D environments, but the PlayStation wasn't strong enough under the hood. Instead, they opted to go with pre-rendered backgrounds. This allowed them to essentially use a high-quality image as the background and only render the characters, enemies, and interactable objects, resulting in higher visual fidelity without sacrificing performance. Lighting also played a key role. Since the backgrounds were pre-rendered, Capcom could bake in shadows and highlights, giving rooms a richness and depth that wouldn't have been possible with fully real-time rendering on the PlayStation hardware. Combine that with dim corridors, flickering candlelight, and ominously lit doorways, and the game fostered a constant sense of dread. The Spencer Mansion was visually inspired by the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, which was also the inspiration for the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King's The Shining. The architecture is beautiful yet haunting. The creature designs push the hardware to its limits as well. Zombies, hunters, and the iconic Tyrant were modeled to look grotesque and unsettling, even if their polygon counts were low. Clever texture work and camera placement disguised many of the graphical shortcomings. Players weren't just scared of what they saw, they were scared of what might be lurking just outside the fixed camera's view. After all of that, let's talk about what survival horror means. There's been plenty of discussion on the topic within the community, and it always tends to break down into arguments over what features or mechanics are needed. The truth is, I don't know if any one thing defines it. Some would say tank controls, fixed camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds. Some would say puzzles are needed. I'm going to paraphrase from another respected Resident Evil content creator on what I think it is. Survival horror is about puzzles, not the puzzles you're thinking of. Yes, puzzles should be in it, but that's not what I mean. Every interaction, every step into a dark hallway should be a puzzle. Do I bring my arsenal of weapons at the cost of inventory? Do I leave my first aid spray behind so I can get that key item? Should I kill that zombie, or do I think I can dodge him? Should I save here or wait until later? You're forced to think on your feet constantly, and I agree that that is what defines survival horror. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time with some games that truly mean a lot to me. Please let me know how you feel in the comments below. Maybe I missed something, or you have some feedback on how to improve. Whatever the case, I appreciate you. Stay safe out there.